Thank you. Thank you for welcoming HomeShare Vermont to share a little bit about our work. I am Ann Farley. I am the HomeShare Vermont case manager here in Lamoille County. I also work in Northern Washington and part of the Northeast Kingdom. HomeShare Vermont is a nonprofit organization based in South Burlington. We do have an official office in Montpelier as well. And we've been quietly operating in parts of the state for 42 years. And just this year, we have expanded to cover most of the state. We just have a tiny sliver in the southwest corner that we don't yet reach. So when I said quietly serving, now that we are serving the majority of the state, you will start to hear more about HomeShare Vermont probably, TV, radio, etc. And it's easier to shout it from the rooftops now that we're serving most everybody. So our work includes matching folks who have some extra space in their homes and maybe are needing some help around the house. It's not always the case, but often is. We match those folks with those who are seeking affordable housing and who are able and willing to provide some of that help. So we have each arrangement is custom built. So we have some that are all rent. We have some that are all service, but most are a mix of the two that the home seeker is providing to the host. We do have a few hosts here in Stowe that I'm actively working with, and we'd love to have more. We serve folks who have as little as an extra bedroom in their homes, and as much as like maybe a seasonal home that's sitting vacant. We do some house sits as well. So we do a very intensive vetting process at the start. We get to know people really well on both sides of the equation, both home providers and home seekers. We do an hour-long interview with each person. We do several background checks, a national and several in-state background checks. We do 3 to 4 reference checks. And once we've done all of that, we work on the matching part, which is the fun part for us. So we learn so much about people on the front end, and then we suggest them to each other if we think on paper that they're good fits, and then we handle everything. This is a very in-person job, so thus the difficulty with expanding to cover the state, because all of this is in person. We do host interviews in person. We sometimes do guest interviews in person and sometimes on Zoom, but every introduction happens with a HomeShare case manager along. So we're there the whole way. Folks get introduced, and if they're interested to proceed, we have them do a 2-week trial. So the guest moves into a home more with a suitcase, not all of their things right away. And if at the end of that 2 weeks it feels like a good fit to everybody, then everyone signs an agreement that we draft up with all of the details custom made for them. And only at that time there's a one-time income-based fee that HomeShare Vermont receives, and that's only due if we find a match for folks. You can do 10 trials and there's no cost unless you match. So some of the things that people ask for help with include, like very common here in Vermont, firewood, moving, shoveling. Sometimes a guest might make a few meals per week for the host and share the meal. Sometimes there's some transportation, pet care, child care, or simply just a safety presence. Having somebody sleep in the home can be a nice reassurance. Excuse me, our average rent right now is about $375 a month, and our average stay is around 2 years. When I first moved to Vermont in 2006, I was a HomeShare guest in a home in Barrie, Vermont for a year. And my host had type 1 diabetes, and she was in her 70s and needed me to check in on her morning and evening. She didn't want a whole lot else, so we sort of coexisted and chatted a few times a day. We had a big garden together one year, or the summer that I was there. And it worked out beautifully for both of us. So I will stick around if you all have any questions, would like to chat about anything. I'd be happy to have more conversation. Thank you.